CBS News has learned the Trump administration plans to drastically increase its collection of DNA samples from people seeking asylum. CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez has been covering this story and joins me now from Washington. Camilo, welcome. What is DHS planning to do, and how do they plan to do it exactly?
Yeah, so once this is implemented, the Justice Department regulation that was issued today, Tanya, would mandate that the Department of Homeland Security subject most migrants and immigrants in its custody to mandatory DNA collection. So the new regulation will effectively scrap limitations that were placed in the Obama administration that said only immigrants detained on criminal charges or that are being processed for removal could have their DNA collected. And this data will be transferred into a criminal database used by the FBI, Tanya.
And what is the purpose of this increased DNA collection? I mean, does the administration, what do they hope to do with all of this DNA?
Yeah, so they want to make sure that they have previously used this data to identify family units to make sure that parents and their children have family ties, but they now want to make sure that they have the criminal histories of people they're apprehending at the border, but they have not really offered a rationale of why they should be collecting data from family units who only have civil and administrative violations and are not subject to any prosecution. That's still one of the main sticking points with advocates who say that, families who are not facing criminal charges should not have this sensitive information collected from them.
So do we know then, under this plan, who exactly will be subject to DNA collection?
Yeah, it would subject migrants who cross illegally in between ports of entries. It would also subject migrants who are being detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, in the interior of the country. And this is the more controversial part, Tanya, it would also subject asylum seekers to mandatory DNA collection because some asylum seekers who cross the border illegally do that first before seeking asylum, and also those who go to an official port of entry to seek asylum sometimes are detained further by ICE, and ICE will now have the power to collect DNA samples from them.
But this would apply only to adults, correct? Or are they collecting DNA samples from children as well?
We don't know if they're collecting samples from unaccompanied migrant children, so children who come here on their own to the border, but we do know that they are planning to collect samples from children in family units unless they are under the age of 14.
And Camilo, immigration advocates say that this new proposal violates privacy and civil liberties. What is the Trump administration's response to that?
Yeah, the administration, as I said, so when migrants and immigrants are apprehended by U.S. immigration officials, they are apprehended on administrative or civil violations and not for criminal prosecution. But the administration and the Justice Department is now saying that there is very little difference between people who are facing criminal charges and those who are facing immigration violations, because they believe that those who have violated the nation's immigration laws should also be prosecuted for violations like illegal entry. So they don't see a distinction where advocates do.
It's a ramping up of the criminalization, I guess, of crossing the border. All right, Camilo Montoya-Galvez, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tanya.